carries are a good answer into it.
Let's see what breaks ESL as we jump on into Champion Select for Videocade Stars versus Furia.
Right into it early on first phase
Okay.
of bans done. You'll see a couple of supportive picks. Of course, the Milio, the Ivern that so many teams have been heavily prioritizing. Everybody essentially happy to B1 that pick. But the B1 here is going to be VKS picking up the Kai'Sa. I'm going to immediately hand that one off to you because I think, if I understand it correctly, RMC, you're not a big fan of that B1 Kai'Sa.
No, I'm not. I think Kai'Sa is kind of bait right now. She's got a pretty low win rate, and as we saw last game, she has counters. I'm actually surprised that we're seeing the Varus pick up from Furia. I think Xayah is one of the hard counters, but teams have been willing to pick other things like the Tristana that we've seen, that the Varus we've been seeing here. And I do think that for Cade Stars, to give credit to them, Trigo is the most winningest AD carry on this Kai'Sa, having won 2 games on it thus far. Well, pairing with it, though, an early Alistar pickup to answer the Rel coming through from Furia.
I was going to say the Kai'Sa win rate and the Trigo Kai'Sa win rate. 2 very different
Yes.
conversations for sure. And pairing it up, hey, with the Alistar, of course, you know, it is a classic kind of thought process with the Kai'Sa. The Nautilus has long been one of the staple support pairs alongside that pick. They are going to go with the Alistar here. So great engage. Should be a solid 2v2 into this Varus Rel. And of course, the Rel didn't get to see it the first couple of weeks, of course, was disabled on patch 13.11. Now coming through, we saw a great game from Ranger on it yesterday, and now we'll get to see Zai on this pick this time around, rounding out first pick phase. Annie on the side of VKS, so Greftar is going to take that one, so we'll have to keep an eye on Tuts maybe getting an Ari if it doesn't get banned away, as Poppy locked in there for Patal.
And the insta-ban for Gigo there, the Gwen that we were talking about. Not something we've seen often in the first ban phase, but they are paying respect to the Gigo top side. Now, as you mentioned, yeah, so the fact that Ari is available on the table, I'm curious if Cade Stars actually ban out the Ari to try and force Tuts on something else, because Tuts has a pretty decent champion pool of his own. I remember him as more of a control mage player, things like, well, the Zero we're seeing, maybe even the Orianna. But, you know, it feels like giving him Ari again might not be that big a threat if you are playing a death ball composition, which we often see paired with the likes of Kai'Sa.
We'll keep an eye on it. Last few bans coming through. Olaf taking away from Gigo, so heavy focus towards that top side here by Furia in this second ban phase. And I understand it. I mean, jungle, a couple of picks taken off the board, but there's still quite a few options here for both of these junglers. So Furia likely not wanting to pinch Goot's champion pool, though.
Okay.
His has been fairly diverse. Coming into this week, had played 6 unique champions through 6 games, and something tells me that's not something that's going to drastically change anytime soon. The last ban is going to be decided. So important to know, Ari available the hover right now. Syndra possibly for Tuts.
I like this. So we mentioned the death ball with Kai'Sa. Usually she wants dive buddies. So the answer to Kai'Sa compositions are generally things that can cause disruption, that can separate the team. And Kai'Sa herself is very, very short range. So playing into the likes of Syndra here means that you will be poked out. You can be knocked away with that scatter of the weak. And of course the unleash power can right away just execute you. And with that, Furia, what's interesting is they're likely now looking for a last pick for Goot. And generally, for junglers, not a great thing to leave them last pick, especially when we're talking about utility junglers. But as you mentioned, Goot, 6 unique champions, out of which 4 of them are more carry-oriented champions who can benefit from counter matchups.
I'm double-checking our graphic here. Important to note, coming into this week, Vi, Bel'Veth, Lee Sin, Kindred, Maokai, and Wukong were the 6 champions that Goot had played. So a few of those picks certainly available here. Will be into the Wukong. The last pick is the Cassante for Gigo. Of course, we saw FNB with a very impressive performance on it just last game. We'll see if maybe Gigo can have a similar performance. Viego, currently the hover here from Furia, has been cropping up here and there, and it is going to be locked in, and that is some carry potential for Goot in the jungle.
Yeah, and Grell, notoriously one of the big Viego players, and this time Goot himself, another one who hasn't played it too recently, is going to pick it up. I like what we're seeing from Furia, a lot of execution potential. They've already got a lot of keep away. The drop from Furia, I think, answers a lot of what the Cade Stars wants to do. But the Cade Stars, I think despite the fact that their composition is somewhat countered by the draft, it's very fitting of how K-Stars like to play. Annie, Wukong, both really strong early skirmishers. Cassante, a bit of a lane bully, and by the way, a champion that Gigo hasn't touched the split just yet. I mean, we know it's strong internationally. We know it's been struggling in CBLOL. Now Gigo's picking that one up. So when I look at this composition right now, the way I see it, K-Stars, they're looking to skirmish hard and skirmish early. If they can get a big enough lead, it doesn't matter that Furia have countered them. But if they were to fall behind, then I get a bit worried for K-Stars when I see all the different tools that Furia have to disengage and re-engage fights on their terms.
I'm personally a big fan of them double dipping on the Kai'Sa pick that Trigo showed up on very strongly yesterday. Had, I would say, his best game of the split. We're going to quickly bring Dia back in here as we get ready for our second game of the day to get his thoughts. So Dia, what are you thinking here as we exit Champion Select and get ready to hit the Rift?
RMC touched on this when we were talking about the Syndra pick, but Disruption is pretty darn terrifying for everyone on both sides this game. On Vivo K-Stars, they got 4 champions with CC. On Furia's side, they got 5 champions with CC. There's a lot of CC in this game, and I'm very worried, RMC, about anybody who steps too far forward. If your name isn't Guigo and you're not playing Cassante, you're probably getting blown up.
Even if your name is Gigo and you're playing Cassante, there's a half-decent shot you get blown up anyways. I do think one thing to note along with that CC point, of course, is how deadly is it if you get hit by CC? Because if K-Stars get hit by CC, there's no disengage, right? And so you're probably dead. If Fury gets hit by CC, as long as somebody's still around, like whether it be the Rel, the Syndra, or the Poppy, there's a chance you survive because your team's got your back.
Let's jump into the League of Crowd Control with Game 2 of the day. Stars go up against Furia. Okay, so right now.
RMC, did I hear that correctly? We're not in the League of Static Shiv any longer? I'm so sad.
Don't, man. I am so tilted by Static Shiv. So, yeah, you know, I hate Static Shiv because it makes the game kind of boring, especially in patch 13.12, where you can one-shot the back wave, and a lot of these mid laners especially can even clear the front wave with it. I do think we're still going to see a Static Shiv for Trigo. Yeah. But besides Trigo, I'm hopeful that maybe we don't see IU pick it up, that we only see one Static Shiv.
So I know that it is an option for Varus currently to build that more magic damage on hit build, and he is going tempo, which pairs with that. Are you hoping maybe just for more of a poke-oriented AD build playing around his arrow?
So we saw yesterday the AP build come through from Vivo in the Pain Gaming game, and it one-shot pretty much anybody he ran across, even the tanks. But if anything, Lethal Tempo actually might not suggest that it's the AP build. Usually we see actually Hail of Blades paired with it for the quick burst. Lethal Tempo still works. And I am still crossing my fingers that it's not good AP Varus, because that's pretty disgusting. More of an on-hit style Varus. Still going to be partially AP. You're still rushing the Gunsoo's Rage Blade after the Static Shiv. But yeah, hoping for a more on-hit build to be able to cut through a lot of what VKS have in terms of their tankiness with the Alistar, with the Cassante.
I'll tell you what, RMC, we'll check back in with builds in about 6 to 7 minutes to keep an eye out for a Noon Quiver in IU's build, and that might tell us a lot, because that's, of course, a very quick indicator of a Static Shiv on its way. Early pause here for this game, so appreciate everybody's patience here. We'll have an update for you as soon as possible. I want to take an opportunity here as we've come out of Champion Select, RMC, to hand it off to you to just let's try and set the stage for what we're going to expect through this early game based on what we saw in Champion Select.
Okay, so yeah, so we already mentioned, you know, K-Stars, they're a team that really likes the early game. Now, statistically, they're not the best in the early game. In fact, coming into the week, they were actually 8th in the league in terms of goal difference at 15. So, not on the higher side of things, but they try. They really like to make action happen. And I still remember the interview with Dinkedo after Pain had played against K-Stars, and it reminds me when Dinkedo said they got sucked into the pace of the K-Stars. K-Stars, they're trendsetters. They will set the pace of the game. And it goes back to that point of discipline I was talking about for Furia. Because I think if Furia gets sucked into the pace of K-Stars, well, they're playing a fast, active game, and K-Stars will just beat you with experience. Sure, you're energetic, but so are the K-Stars. And so I'm looking at Furia to play a slower early game, for Goot to look to counter jungle rather than actively look to find picks of his own, slow things down, and once Furia are a bit more comfortable, there's a pretty good chance that K-Stars are going to make a risky play, and you can punish them for it.
And of course, you look at the composition for Furia and some solid scaling on their side. So if you could keep things close, or even maybe build a little bit of a lead just based on how you're able to play things through the laning phase, you're in a great position when you get to that 15, 18-minute mark to continue to get that snowball rolling. So we'll keep an eye on how things shake out in this early game and see if maybe Grell can be that activator for VKS, and if he's able to draw Furia into that more frenetic, chaotic pace in the early game. Because K-Stars, of course, we know so important for Grell to get going early for this team, because when he does get going, RMC, he does such a good job of translating these leads into his lanes, getting Gigo rolling in the top side, getting Grefthar enabled in mid lane. When Grell is going, all of VKS is going.
Yeah, and say what you want about a 3G network. Maybe it's a little bit outdated, but I never had problems with it. And 3G was always really solid and united. And that's been the case with Gigo, Grell, and Grefthar as well for K-Stars. When Grell goes in, I give props to K-Star that Gigo and Grefthar go in with him. It's not always the cleanest action, but they're willing to go along as an entire team. So props to them for that as well. And that's, I think, one of the keys to success. That's why Grell is such a good weather vane for this team. If Grell is not doing well, it's not necessarily that Grell is misplaying, but it does usually mean that the K-Stars as a whole are going to have a very, very rough early game. Whereas when Grell is doing well, then usually it suggests that, hey, his two solo lanes are also going to be doing really, really well with him. And so going into this game against Furia, definitely keep an eye out on Grell and what he's able to achieve and how patient or, well, impatient he might be, whether we see some of those questionable turret dives come through with no actions kicked off by, say, 10, 14 minutes.
Oh, man. Also interesting to note that this is one of the more, I guess, vanilla drafts we've seen from kind of both of these sides. We mentioned it at the top, especially when, looking at the comparative champion pools for both of these teams, that so many unique picks, right? Goot, I think the only player to bring out the Lee Sin so far this split, the Belveth and the Neela on the side of Fury, and then the wealth of carries picked in the top lane, and the fact that Trigo is kind of one of the only 80 carries that has really been bringing up the Jinx in any sort of significant fashion. But not that I'm complaining, but definitely a fairly standard draft from both sides in this game.
And considering what's happened to Furia the last couple of games when their drafts did get a little bit spicy, I think it's a good sign. It's a return to form, right? They're trying to reset. And back speaking of resets, so we are also back into the game. We've missed basically nothing here. Junglers starting on opposite sides of the map.
For a reminder to the folks at home, we're keeping an eye on that Varus build from IU, so we'll check back in just around that 10-minute mark to see where he's heading. Maybe if that static shiv is coming through. Definitely a lane to keep an eye on here as we get into our second game of the day. Early ward there from Grefthar, and nice stun thanks to the scat of the week there from Tuts.
Okay, I don't know if this is a mind game they're necessarily playing, but one thing that can sometimes happen is you'll see somebody ward on that side of the map even when their jungler is there to try and bait the opposing side to say that, oh, maybe our jungler's the other side. That's why we're only warding and covering this side of the map. But for now, it doesn't matter. Bot lane flash already burned.
Yeah, Grell was spotted out by that ward, but the early engage there from Trigo and damage means IU's in trouble. Will get to the safety, though, of his tower. Looks like Grell isn't going to follow here for the counter gank. It is a little late. IU going to just hit some pots and get down further into this lane and maybe pick a little bit of CS. Goot, meanwhile, Shrouded, thinking about chasing down Grell, is just going to help them crash this wave and maybe get a little bit of safety. But that is going to be the Hex Fletch over the wall. Knock up from damage and first blood there for Trigo.
Zai still has flash, will be able to get out, and Gooch trying to find something on the back end, has the red buff, but it's playing with fire.
Yeah, flash in from Zai to try and set it up. The clone is the only thing going down here on the side of VK. So a team, hey, RMC that traditionally does not invest a lot of resources in their bot lane early.
No.
They punish the early push from Furia, and Trigo is going here on this guy side.
Yeah, really well played for them. And that kicked off not with Grell looking for the gank necessarily. That was Damage and Trigo going, okay, we see an opportunity. We will blow all the flashes. Trigo and Damage committed every summoner. And I'm going to be honest with you, so I'm really shocked that IU and Zai opted to turn back in. You're on a Varus. You're not a mobile champion. You boned flash already. Even with Goot there, you saw how quickly IU got bursted down because he had no health.
Yeah, something tells me that that's IU maybe just hoping, you know, hey, we saw the Alistar burn his flash. It's going to be really hard for him to engage onto me without us seeing it coming and without, you know, maybe the ability to step away. But just a good job from Damage getting out of vision, getting that Hex flash over the wall and having the Headbutt Pulverize combo ready to go to set up that first blood there for IU, or for Trigo, excuse me. So Kaisa off and running in this game. Keep an eye on this VKS bottom lane, because of course Trigo had a stellar performance for them yesterday against Liberty on this same pick. We'll be looking to repeat that once again.
Yeah, and Trigo, the only person who's won more than one game with Kaisa. Heck, one of only 280 carries to win with Kaisa. So definitely somebody who's comfortable with the champion. And I also want to highlight the fact that with that first blood, Trigo, early back, picks up the Kershi Shard. So already you're going to have some measure of push to be able to answer the various arrows, which often help to shout the wave. And IU and Zai have to be careful about how quickly they can answer back and push out on these waves that Furia keeps trying to stack down bot.
Definitely keep an eye on that first Infernal Drake and see if, you know, if this bot lane priority continues for IU and Zai, if maybe Goot wants to get down there, or if Grell decides, hey, you know, we already got this lead going for the Kaisa, maybe I return to this bottom lane, try and invest more, especially if that Varus Rel combo will continue to push. Both junglers on the bottom side of the map have their respective blue buffs, and BKS going to get the information that Goot is on his blue side. Meanwhile, up to the top lane, Gigo and Batal duking it out a little bit. Poppy, no worse for wear there, as Grell going to get back down to this bottom lane.
Goot's coming in as well, but this time K-Stars have taken the worst of the trade to start.
Looks like they maybe just want to go in onto Goot here. Headbutt Pulverize there onto the Viego. He's not going to be able to get away, and Grell's going to take the kill. Mid laner is as well, able to get back. Zai going to take down damage. Zai quickly follows his second kill there for Trigo, while IU retreats to the safety of his tower. It's another one trade by VKS.
I'm just going to put this down to unfamiliarity with the Varus perhaps for Furia and how much damage it can do, because Goot on Viego, that's just a comfort pick, but it just feels like Furia keeps thinking we do more damage than we actually do, and then they kind of lose the fight right off the bat, getting burst down by this Kaisa, by this Wukong. And you know, Yesa, we were talking about the fact that topside Gigo, VKS, Gigo, Grell, Greftar, it's not that K-Stars can't play to the bot lane, as we're finding out right now. It's that they like topside, but now that they've put Gigo on this tank, they're committing to this bot lane, and Furia need to understand and adapt to that.
Yeah, and it is important to note, one of the big discussions that we had about the changes that this team made coming into the split was that they brought in Trigo and Damage because this was a bot lane that already had built-in synergy, right? These players have experience together, and it was a bot lane that they were confident that could play weak side. They said, hey, we could leave them alone in the early game, invest in the top side. Trigo will be fine when we get to the late game, and we've seen that largely throughout this split, but now they're saying, hey, like, Trigo, let's dump some money into you early game. Let's see how it goes. And it looks great.
Yeah, he's now playing strong side, and let's see how much he can snowball that. I love the fact that the supports have actually kind of left bot lane as well. We're used to seeing supports roam to mid, first back, and then supports just go mid, then roam down bot. But that isn't the case with Damage and Zai. They have been sitting mid lane for almost as long as I feel like they've been sitting bot lane, and now Tuts, Goot, and Zai roaming together. Damage needs to be running fast. Has flash.
Is going to be able to get out of trouble. Not too worried in that instance. Trigo and IU just down there farming away. Grell is going to be able to start up this Rift Herald, and now the question is, does Furia have the information to maybe go in for a trade of neutral objectives? As Greftar does drop Tibbers in mid lane. Looks like he just maybe wants to get the push and get off a recall here. No teleport available, so he really wants to make sure to crash that wave so he doesn't lose any sort of gold, as Grell will easily take this first Rift Herald 8.5 minutes in.
Yeah, and part of that goes towards that dragon pressure you're talking about. Top side, Batal gets dragged out.
He got kidnapped. He's gonna get out of trouble though. Does cost him his flash over the wall. Meanwhile, good bit of damage there on a Greftar in the mid lane. Trigo getting further investment. Rift Herald immediately dropped in mid. Trigo roams here and gets that plate gold.
Oh, yeah. You know, okay. First of all, we do have to acknowledge that Tuts did go down in the mid lane, and Greftar was able to pick that up.
Oh.
Yeah.
missed
Oh, sorry.
it. Forgive
yeah,
me.
sorry. It was Grell who picked it up. Yeah, but they went for that particular play, and that's kind of what stopped them from going from Dragon. But Furia weren't confident enough to go for that. And in the meantime, I need to say this now because I'm gonna forget again. So Twitch chat, whoever's watching, hold me accountable for this. I said yesterday I want to see the old pay thing. Like hearing the audience do that is so awesome. I love that Granther has made that a thing. I forgot to do that right there because so much was happening. So, Nyx Herald, we will get this, Yeso. We will get the pay.
We're keeping an eye out for it, chat. I promise. Do not worry. Trigo, the wealthiest member in this game by a large margin, 1,000 gold over next best. His own
static shift done.
Grell. So that is a very fed Kaisa at this point in the game. Important to note, Noon Quiver in the inventory for IU. What is this early build that I am seeing? RMC is maybe we're going to get the engage in mid lane. Let's hold on the build analysis here as they're going to engage here onto the Alistar, but that is a beefcake. He's still going to go down though. Tuts picks up the kill, the second here for Furia in this game, and VKS has to back away.
Yeah, able to punish damage before he gets access to that ultimate. That won't be happening that often once Alistar actually has the Unbreakable Will, and now they're rotating for the Dragon, but look at Trigo, that's your static shiv right there. You're talking about Noon Quiver, but Trigo has already completed his first method. Or first item, pardon.
Yep, Trigo's going to be a problem. Good luck with that one, Furia, because Trigo's going to be Killer Instinct-ing into your back line whenever he can. Look out for the Void Seekers. It's not going to be fun. I can promise you that, whether my phrasing makes sense or not. Now, VK is able to push Furia out of this bottom river, and now it looks like they're going to keep control of these early neutral objectives. We already saw Grell pick up that Herald, drop it in mid to put more gold into Trigo. Now, likely going to be easily able to pick up this first Infernal Drake, so great start from VKS.
Yeah, Furia technically could have contested it. Zai actually came out of base fast enough, but I think they just overestimated Katestar's damage and didn't want to risk going into that. Damage, speaking of, is level 6 now and actually has the Unbreakable Will. So it's really scary for this bot lane of IU and Zai. They've got to play safe. They're waiting for IU to complete first item and Zai to actually hit that level 6, get the Magnet Storm. And yeah, so you asked me what item is that? Well, if I recall correctly, Noon Quiver with Recurve Bow, that builds into Kraken Slayer now, which is in the Mythic, which is on hit Varus, potentially. Now, they could just be splitting into Recurve right now, just for better wave clear, or... Actually, no, if you're going to build Static Shiv, I don't think you take any pit stop, so I'm going to assume Kraken Slayer, not Static Shiv Varus, and count that as a win.
Yeah, well, and there's no reason to, right? Like, if you've already got the Noon Quiver, the Kirchi Shard is cheaper than the Recurve Bow, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, there's no reason to divert there, and there, of course, is that Kraken Slayer for that on-hit build for this Varus.
Yeah, but for now, though, the bot lane... Yeah, there we go. Kraken Slayer has been picked up. We can confirm that. But bot lane, surprisingly, doesn't look to be the focus, as Herald is going to be spawning in 2 minutes, and everybody's gone up top real early. In fact, Trigo and Damage have been rotated into the mid lane, along with IU, and now Greftar with TP in the bot lane. Have they found a pick?
Yeah, it looks like they have. Goot going to get over the wall, but it's not going to get him to safety. Grell able to follow and knock down the Furia jungler. 0-2-2 start here for Goot on this Viego, and VKS in full control. RMC, I gotta ask you, with how these first 13 minutes have played out, the control of the neutral objectives from VKS, and also the early investment in their bottom laner and the lead that they've been able to build, what do the next 5 to 7 minutes look like for Furia to try and get this game back under control?
I think Furia just need to figure out what they're doing right now, because if you look at the scoreline, so it sounds exactly what we're predicting. Kate starts being aggressive early. Can Furia match? And it looks like no. The answer is no. But if you watch how it happened, Kate Stars are not playing insane. They're playing just measured, actually, with how they've been rotating around. And a lot of this is just off Trigo and Damage with that early kill and snowballing that lead. So for Furia now, they need to stop that snowball. They need to slow down and make sure they don't get picked. Goot getting caught in his own jungle right there is a wake-up call. The jungle is not yours. You are now fighting for every inch of vision, of territory, and they need to get wards down and start trying to manufacture ganks or picks of their own.
Yeah, I mean, this early game for Grell, his success rate on these ganks feels like every time he shows up in a lane, summoner spells are being blown, kills are being picked up. He has been very effective to start off this game. Trigo is going to get caught by the scat of the week there. Immediately cleanses to get to the safety of that tower. Well played from the VKS bottom laner as Furia is going to get priority in this topside river to try and secure the second Rift Herald. So keep an eye on what VKS's response is.
Yeah, and they do have a small item advantage right now in mid and top lane. So Furia, this is where they can try and take the game back into their own hands. And I'm looking for the end gauge from Furia. Can they find it? Chains of Corruptions is available as a way to kick things off.
And of course, Zai going to be very key to this engage effort. Batao will be important for the disengage because, of course, VKS have tools to get to the backline. It's going to be important for Batao to be that wall.
Furia split. I don't
They're
know.
top.
I don't know if I like what Furia are doing with this split right now. They're kind of looking for a backline of their own, but they could just get run over the front. K-Stars don't have vision. If they knew, I wouldn't be surprised if they engage. Not back.
But ejection there by Batao, the keeper's verdict, will secure them the Rift Herald, but I don't know that they're going to be able to get the eye here. VKS should be able to set up and keep them away. Recalls coming through.
Are they still looking? Okay, there we go. The ward comes down. You know what? So it was really well played from Furia initially, but the problem is using the keeper's verdict early means that they don't have the tool for the team fight after. And K-Stars, again, this is not the K-Stars is expecting. What measured play from them? They recognize that we can't contest the Herald. We use keeper's verdict. It's a 3v5. That's fine. We can't get Herald, but you can't get the eye. And really, it's all about the eye of the Herald that makes that Herald so worth it.
I would like to inform chat that RMC has formally submitted a report against VKS for gatekeeping Furia from picking up the Eye of the Herald, because now he has to wait till Game 4 today to get his
No, I forgot!
So, a formal report has been submitted. Do not worry. A complaint has been filed.
You know, Kate says, I was cheering for you, but now that you point that out. I am filing a formal complaint against K-Stars for denying me my pay for Game 2. Hopefully, Game 4 will get it. For now, though, Dragon. And we're getting a bit of a repeat. Outs are not quite back up. Keeper's Verdict is not available for Batao in this one.
Definitely going to have to keep an eye. VKS may have a better shot at getting in on this one. Going to try and use that Shroud to stay out of trouble. Zai ensuring that flank can't get set up here by Grevthar. Had the Blast Cone, is just going to elect to go back down to the river, clear out the ward, and the dance continues.
Damage taking a lot of poke right now, but the Hex Tech is actually hitting K-Stars. It's benefiting Furia, and K-Stars, you're patient, sure, but you're the ones who need to pull the trigger. Furia are the ones who want to play back, want you to play into them.
Keep it back up. And goodbye. That is going to be the smite there for Goot. And ejected out of the fight is damaged.
Okay,
but it doesn't matter. Zai going to get to the backline. Is going to get melted down. However, beautiful return kill there for IU, as the arrow will knock down Gigo. And it's a 1-for-1 if Furia gets the Drake.
Yeah, a 1-for-1, but consider the setup to that. Furia getting the Drake, really good. K-Stars didn't pull the trigger fast enough. Keeper's Verdict came back up, and that was all Furia were waiting for. The after fight, though, was a 4v5, and that was engaged by Zai, and it still backfired. Grevthar has no clue. Will he step up?
Oh, Grevthar in trouble. Has the flash away, and Tuts not quite able to get the kill. Does force out the summoner spell.
Yeah, and for Grevthar right there, if you don't flash, you're dead. You saw the follow-up. Goot was looking to try and get the execute. We're back into the replay, and again, watch how this fight starts off. Damage is already gone, and Damage is actually a key frontline person for this fight. And so Zai thinks, we got this, but you don't. And Zai isn't that tanky. You have to keep in mind as well how strong Trigo is and how much damage he can burst out. So for Furia, I appreciate the idea, but this is the worrying part. You aren't strong enough at this point in the game. You're just looking to skill up for now. Wait till IU gets 2 items. Wait till Tuts gets a bit more damage, can actually one-shot targets.
Yeah, and it also is important to note that that's not really a favorable location for Furia to take a fight in, because it makes it very easy for Grell to dive in and get a multi-man ultimate, and that makes things go even worse. You have to be very particular about where you're going for these engages, because if Damage or Grell are around and you stack up, it's going to be a bad time. Let's just go with that. Change of corruption coming out.
Only on the clone though, and K-Stars might look for the re-engage. Again, numbers down. It's a 3v4, but K-Stars are feeling confident and Gigo on the flank.
And rightfully so, is going to be able to pull back Batal, forces the flash there out of the Poppy, and PKS says, thank you very much. They're going to back away, they'll clear out the wave. They can think about the push here as their next wave does arrive. I don't know that they're going to go for it, though. They're going to look to pick up some camps here for Grell, recall, spend some gold, but VKS in a great position here as we approach the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, Gigo burning his own flash in that exchange as well to set up that play. And yes, I'm actually surprised the way this game has gone. I'm actually more tense than I expected. I thought we'd see more blood and more action. And it's not for lack of trying. K-Stars and Furia both have had their shots at these team fights, but you can see the teams as well. Both of them are playing very disciplined and not wanting to commit until they're fairly confident that they have some sort of edge in these fights. And that's why we're seeing as soon as Change of Corruption went down, BKS started looking for that turnaround now. They're approaching this top side again. Baron is up. I don't think he can actually take it. Grell barely able to secure that. And the teams, they're looking for a reason to fight, but they don't want to fight for no reason.
It's been a very odd trend this weekend, RMC. Like, you look through the first 3 weeks of this split, a lot of very bloody games, action-packed, very skirmish-heavy, and, you know, of course, a wealth of team fights once you get to that 20-minute mark. But, I mean, you go back to yesterday, Red Cannons versus Kaboom, Pain versus Fluxu. Those were two games that were much slower. They both went over 40 minutes and not a ton of kills in those first 20 to 25 minutes, and a little bit of that here today. Only 9 through 21 minutes now. We're seeing some teams more willing to slow things down and not hard engaging as often as we have seen this split. Does that concern you in any way, or do you like that maybe some of these teams are willing to slow things down early on?
On paper, it actually is a good thing that teams are not quite as bloodthirsty and they're not just coin flipping away. I'm just really surprised that VKS is one of them. Because yesterday, you mentioned we had a lot of slow games. One of our most bloody active games was actually Liberty versus K-Stars. Both two of our early game teams. So I'm just really surprised that K-Stars are slowing down. And normally, I said it's a good thing. I actually don't know if it's great for K-Stars. Because I do think that they've looked best when teams are willing to play the K-Stars game. And now, with this composition, they need to find engages. They've got in on Batal again.
Yeah, well-timed steadfast presence there to cancel the engage there from damage. Batal gonna be able to back away, but that is Zai. Once onto the front line, so much damage. Grell's getting melted. Grepnar's down. IU popping off here on the Ferris. Zai will fall there to Grepnar, but it isn't going to much matter. Huge fight there as two fall on VKS. Both of the solo laners gone. Furia have their eyes on mid.
Yeah, and look at how much time Gigo bought K-Stars. It does not matter. Furia were just able to out-damage, out-sustain. That's the benefit of not building Static Shiv on your AD carry. The fact that the Kraken Slayer is letting IU cut through the tank so much more effectively.
Makes a lot of sense. You look how beefy that front line is going to get with an Alistar, with a Cassandra. Even the Wukong can get very tanky later in these games. That shredding of the tank is going to be very important. Teleport on its way from Grevthar. He has arrived. They're trying to cut off Furia here and maybe go for a fight. It is 4v5, but Gigo does have teleport. It's on its way to a pink ward. Keeper's Verdict getting charged up. Will knock out one, but Gigo has arrived. Trigo? Beautiful steadfast presence to cancel. Trigo doing a lot of damage. Tuts is down. Boot maybe soon to follow as Gigo has to back away. That's 2 kills for the side of PKS, and they have responded.
And Furia played the initial fight so well, but in that second fight, they left Trigo completely untouched. They were so consumed with the threat that Gigo represented. And now K-Stars turning onto this Baron. Goot is dead. No jungler, no smite available. And Batal just used Keeper's Verdict as well. So it's down to IU. Can you poke? Can you try and find a kill?
We'll have to see. Well,
can't even get to Baron.
They're thinking about it. Damage has to back away. Tanked a lot here early on. Is going to have to recall, but they are going to spot Batal in the bottom lane, and they know this Baron is all ours. We do not have to worry. 23.5 minutes in VKS with a huge Baron. Let's check out this replay.
Okay, so this is the initial fight that goes really, really well for Fury. And I want to highlight, too, that Keeper's Verdict wasn't used. This is what we were talking about when we said Fury have so many tools to answer the engage coming through from K-Stars, and huge engage from Zai, something that he's been able to do on almost every champion, knowing when to go in. Yeah, sure, he dies, but it doesn't matter. He locked everybody in, and more importantly, Kate Stars weren't able to answer. So, win. Should have been fine. They get Dragon. Great. The problem was, of course, what happened after, when it felt like Furia was not expecting Kate Stars to double down on a bad fight, commit teleports to make that play happen, and Furia have to be aware of that. They actually had the tools. It just felt like they weren't mentally prepared to use those tools at that time.
And you see the wonderful synergy there between the Rel and the Cinder. You get the ultimate off there from Zai, and it makes Tuts' job so easy with the Scatter of the Weak to chain that crowd control, and it just means that IU is free firing with those on-hit damages. Absolutely wreaking havoc there onto that BKS lineup. So, look, we've gotten a good look here, RMC, at what it looks like when Furia gets that team fight that they're looking for. We'll see if they can do it again here in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Trigo just covering the mid lane as well. K-Stars aren't looking to fight necessarily, as I say that though, Geek. Getting a little bit feisty.
Excuse me?
Sorry, K-Stars not fighting? What am I talking about? Oh, yeah, my Trigo!
Killer instinct under the inhibitor tower. Trigo says thank you very much, IU. Flashes over the wall, and Tuts not quite able to finish off the Kai'Sa here. Goot and Zai on the chase, but damage is there to protect his bot lane partner, and Trigo's gonna get out of trouble. Goot still thinking about it, but Grell is here, and I think Furia are pissed that Trigo got away with that.
Yeah, and that was playing with fire damage. Has to be careful. Does have ultimate.
I mean, it's just the bait. They've laid out a beautiful, juicy beef patty here, and it all is just the setup grab guard for the big tibbers right on Zai's head. Trigo's still here as well. Goot's gonna fall. What a fight here from BKS. They're gonna just smash this base to pieces. I don't know if it's enough to win the game, but they're at least gonna get their first inhibitor.
Well, it's going to put them in a position where they can look to do it. Gigo on that bot side, able to get away. But look at how low these turrets are across the board. So even the mid lane turret is half health. And I was actually not a huge fan of the initial dive from Trigo. Like, it looks really nice. It looks really fancy. It's very CBLOL. But generally with Baron buff, you want to try and crack the inhibitor turrets. And I thought if you set up a slow siege bot in mid, that's how you traditionally maximize the benefit of the Baron. But the follow-up plays, the fact that Furia went after Trigo, overextended and died, suddenly what should have been a good stall from Furia backfired, and now their base is in trouble. The topside inhibitor is down when Dragon is going to be the focus for the next couple of minutes.
That entire play changes if Tuts and Goot are able to take down Trigo before he flashes out of the base. But Trigo gets away, and Furia unwilling to cut their losses, and it costs them even further. Now a 10,000 gold lead here for VKS 27 minutes into this game. And look, the map is looking very dark for the side of Furia. RMC, they're in a tough spot.
Yep, Dragon coming up in 10 seconds as well. This one, I think Furia just let go. It's only the second Dragon for Cade Stars. And for Cade Stars, they have to be careful about sieging up and pushing as well. They've cleared most of the vision behind them. I think there's only that one ward behind. But we've seen Cade Stars pull off double TP fights before. I'd love to see Furia do that if Cade Stars try and push up that ball.
Do you want to force that fight now, though? Or do you try and stall and play around the Baron? Is it too early to pull the trigger?
Problem for Furia right now is the super minions pushing top, alright? So they need to try and find a window of their own. Vital gets pulled in, is tanky.
Yeah, does hit that steadfast presence to slow down that engage. If BKS has to back away at least temporarily, Scatter of the Weak will help clear out that wave. Furia stays alive for now, man. Those Void Seekers are really going to sting. 3 items now online for Trigo's Kai'Sa. Very powerful, very far ahead. 5-0-5. Not a bad scoreline, I guess, for the VKS 80 carry here. Is a lot of damage there onto Grell. Goes gold.
Sintra ult down.
Yeah, Digo teleporting in. That is going to be another inhibitor tower. Zai going for the engage. Just gets absolutely deleted. The flash away from Goot will keep him alive for the time being, but it might not be enough. IU has to flash away as well as the Cassante wreaking havoc.
Goodbye, Zai. The idea was there, but unfortunately it didn't quite work out, and Zai went in alone. And K-Stars. I asked the question of Furia, whether they would play disciplined or whether they'd go back to that youthful energy of Furia kids. But it's K-Stars who's giving me an answer right now. K-Stars, the smallest advantages. The moment Tuts used the ultimate, the moment Grell stopwatched it, which incredible play, you saw the call go from K-Stars saying, no Syndrell, go. And they dove. No fear, zero hesitation. And Furia, despite the tools they had, we said this was the problem. If they fall behind early, you can draft all the tools you want. It doesn't matter in the face of a 10k gold deficit.
I'm going to ask you to look a little ahead, almost outside of this game, RMC. Furia has been, through the first 3 weeks of this split, one of the best teams in CBLOL. They've been so impressive here as Gigo duking it out. He is going to be able to take down IU. Furia might get a little bit of blood in return, but Gigo's really going to make them work for it. Patao has to run away from Trigo. They're finally going to be able to take Gigo down, but it took so much time. Trigo has to back away here.
Oh.
And maybe if VKS goes in for the win, they're not even going to allow me to ask my question there. Is Zai will get taken down. Pings onto Baron. Okay, here's my opportunity. RMC, Furia were so good through 3 weeks, but they've really kind of come down to earth here a little bit in this week. How is your perspective of these two teams changing based on what we've seen this weekend?
To be fair to Furia, I think this game is less on them and more how K-Stars are playing. I think Furia, we're still seeing what we expected from them, right? Vital on a team fight-oriented champion who, by the way, has been doing a spectacular job so far this game. Vital's been tanking a lot of the initial damage. The Keeper's Verdict has been on point. The Steadfast presence has actually stifled a couple of attempts for engages from K-Stars. Tuts is doing Tuts things. Look at that mid lane CS differential. 60 CS in a losing game. Tuts is still being a monster. Tuts is still being a threat. Hence why Tuts out down, K-Stars pull the trigger. I think the problem for this one was a little bit from IU and Zai in the bot lane. And even then, it's Trigo and Damage who popped off. They were the ones who impressed me. And I think caught not just me off guard, but caught IU and Zai a little bit off guard. And now IU and Zai are trying to get back into the game, but they don't have all the tools they're used to. And I don't think K-Stars are playing the way they expected. It's not reckless. It's very calculated, very measured, and very, very patient.
The controlled aggression from the side of the K-Stars. Very impressive in this game. One inhibitor down. Looking to knock down two here. The wave clear. Keeping things alive for the time being for the side of Furia. But that Baron empowered cannon Minion just slowly whittling away at this tower. And it looks going to be a little too late. Killer Instinct into the base. Tuts has to head back to the fountain. That's a second inhibitor here for BKS, and the engage is going to come through. Vital trying to get over to Trigo, but just gets taken down. And here comes BKS. They're going to rip apart Furia. They're going to rip apart the base. They're going to look for a win here. Damage has to go gold. 3 still alive. It's actually a 4v3 here for Furia. They could try for the defense, but the Nexus falls too quickly. BKS get their